define HRV-CV.
The HRV-CV, or heart rate variability coefficient of variation. And I was talking to my roommate about this last night. I gave him a bunch of different examples, and he's like, man, just keep it simple. It's really the stability or lack thereof of your heart rate variability over multiple days. And so if I'm looking back at my heart rate variability for, let's say, the past 7 days, and in the paper, we looked at the 7-day heart rate variability metrics to calculate HRV-CV. And for those who are more mathematically inclined, this is the 7-day standard deviation divided by the 7-day mean. And we did that for good reason when we look at the original sports science studies by Marco and by Dan and by Paul and all the wonderful scientific advisors we worked with on this paper. That's what's been done in the literature. And that's not to say that the 30-day or 60-day isn't any more meaningful. And in fact, Dr. Galpin was asking questions about this when he was reviewing the manuscript. So we acknowledged in the limitations that, yeah, we didn't look at those periods and that needs to be done, but that this is what's most commonly done. And if you think about it, it provides a nice perspective into what's been going on in the past week, where if you look at it over a longer or shorter period of time, it's providing different context. Anyway, the 7-day heart rate variability coefficient of variation looks at how stable or unstable your heart rate variability has been for the past week.
It's really calculating the day-to-day variation.
The day-to-day variation, yes. 2 days ago now, I was looped into, it was a bit of a question, or debatably a complaint from one of our members that their heart rate variability was the same 4 days in a row. And they were upset by that and thought that there might be measurement error. And so our wonderful data science team quickly looked into the raw data and saw that this was a rounding thing, that the 10th place decimal was different on each one of those days. And so what they were complaining about, that their heart rate variability, that their heart rate variability was the same. They, I'm getting a raw deal here. What we want to tell them is okay, well, go drink 3 beers tonight.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it probably won't be the same. Yeah. And so, again, just to set the table from a real high level, we want to see that stability of HRV-CV. So a lower heart rate variability coefficient of variation generally is what's going to be desirable or better or preferable, indicating that you're waking up in a consistent or a stable recovered state, where if that heart rate variability coefficient of variation is more unstable or it's bouncing around more from day to day, that suggests that the body is dealing with some sort of either internal or external load that's causing this autonomic fluctuation. And so when you look at this again, until this paper, studies on HRV-CV had almost been entirely focused on athletes, which is a great way to learn about a metric, but we were able to apply it to performance populations.
And this analysis in the paper that was recently published consisted of more than 21,000 WHOOP members and roughly 2 million person days of data. So this is a really, really big data set. And so before we kind of wrap up the athlete side of things, I mean, this is a metric that, prior to arriving at WHOOP, I was using Omega Wave and First Beat. I was using some other heart rate variability measurement devices. Yeah. And I became really frustrated as a practitioner trying to interpret these data, that the day-to-day was pretty noisy. When I arrived to WHOOP and I started interacting with some of the brightest sports scientists in the world who were managing and programming for individuals and teams, athletes and professional and collegiate teams, we definitely came to the conclusion that looking at kind of this 7-day perspective and looking at the day-to-day variation in HRV was way more sensible, because we had the opportunity then to reduce some of the noise associated with kind of looking at it acutely, HRV day to day. So from a programming standpoint, this became a really important way to think about adaptation.
Yeah, and I love the word adaptation or resilience being what exactly HRV-CV is telling.
It's a resilience score.
It is. Yeah. It's fantastic like that. And just as an example of that, good buddy and colleague of mine, Andrew Flatt, during his PhD.
Another HRV goat.
HRV wizard. Yeah, it's nice to have him in the pocket. But one of his most famous HRV-CV studies was actually when he was doing his PhD at Alabama. He was working with the Alabama swimming team. And they're all doing the same rough training program, but And this is where Andrew's mind really it's creative, and it really produces some nice insights. Is he looked at over the course of the season, they're all doing the same training program, they're all getting the same coach, the HRV-CV as a possible way to distinguish between those who made to the NCAA championships to those who were more just collegiate level swimmers. So they're still very high performing swimmers, but we're really comparing the best of the best, the national level to those who are competitive collegiate swimmers. And what he saw is that over the course of the season, those who are succeeding and making it to the NCAA championships, the highest level, theoretically the fittest individuals, their HRV-CV was nice and low. They had high heart rate variabilities. They were recovering well. They had these nice low HRV-CVs, meaning that they're recovering well, recovering consistently day in and day out.